Today's lecture will be relatively swift. We have just a couple of things to go over about Brave New World, and a little bit to go over about your papers. First, let's talk about your paper. In 2 to 3 pages, you are to apply your knowledge of New Historicism to Brave New World. If New Historicism aims to discover how a text communicates the desires and anxieties of its time, what ideology does Huxley present through the novel and its use of dystopia? How does it do that? Also consider how your own historicity colors your reading of the text. These are all very important ideas to keep in mind. On the assignments webpage, you will also find the 4 tenets that D.G. Myers puts up about New Historicism, essentially our philosophical guidelines for performing this type of criticism. It's important to keep in mind not only the author's biography, which is somewhat important, but not that important. You know, it's useful to an extent, but I would advise you to not put too much emphasis on it. The real meat of your paper should come from the historical context of the novel. What things are happening in the 1930s, as well as the 1920s? How are those things influencing the novel? What changes, social, economic, political, are ongoing at the time? And how are we seeing those reactions to those changes throughout Brave New World? We have touched on them a little bit in our forum posts with dystopia, particularly the changes in decorum and changes in behavior, particularly with women. But as we move forward, especially in this next forum post, we're going to be talking much more about the historical context of the novel. And this is the type of stuff you need to start applying. Whatever particular point of view you have on it, whether you believe, like I do, that it's sexist, or you believe that it's about equality, is up to you. I'm not here to tell you what to think. But you need to use the history of that time in order to help demonstrate those ideas. Obviously, you will need to use the text as well. And frankly, the forum post should be a good starter for that type of discussion, and it should help you push yourself in your papers. And again, remember, the paper will be due 9/26, so you have about a little less than 2 weeks to get it done. Second, I want to talk about how culture influences a text, or shows its influence in the text itself. I'd like you to start thinking about the ideas that are present in the novel. In the case of Brave New World, we have this text which is littered with, at that time, modern-day references to modern-day people and ideas. In the case of Henry Ford or Sigmund Freud, these are 2 modern iconic figures, right? One brings us the assembly line and industry, the other brings us psychology. Why? Why are they so important in this novel? Even someone like Pavlov, who created Pavlovian conditioning, is also mentioned. Why? Another figure like Thomas Malthus. We have the Malthusian belts that hold the contraceptives. Why are these people so important to the novel? And what is Huxley and the novel responding to in our society that's changing? These are the kind of answers we're looking for. We're not going to find definitive ones, but hopefully they should illuminate the text in some way that it does not itself. Lastly, I'd just like to mention, remember, the author is not the supreme authority or supreme interpreter of a text. He or she is just the conduit with which it came through. But they don't necessarily know everything. And we can't take the author's word or even their suggestions about it. They can be helpful at times, but too often they are a hindrance on our interpretations. So try to remove Huxley as much as we can from your readings of the text. With that said, so far the comments on the forums have been excellent. You really seem to be thinking and pondering and wondering about the text. You're communicating with each other and creating quite good conversations. I'm quite surprised, to be honest. I didn't think the level of discourse would go so high so quickly. So keep it up. I'm quite impressed. As I've mentioned on the forums, or this particular forum, it will be open until Tuesday so that we can continue this conversation and keep sort of those gears turning as we go through the rest of the novel. That's it for this week. I'll see you next Monday.